Howdy. January 23rd, 2025. On the Zolkin, this is a 520 day, which I don't necessarily have any specific associative energies that I correspond with 520. To me, it's still just kind of a yellow snail, but I empower in order to enlighten. Commanding illumination. That is kind of the mantra of today. That's what the energy translates, I guess, linguistically. I don't know exactly why the I don't want to say traditional, but I guess the modern way to comprehend these lunar tonal energies is just through a grammatical output. But I agree with it. I agree with the, what's the word? Consensus. But to me today is a very empowering day, obviously, but today's been feeling very spacious, very difficult to get anything done, honestly. I feel like that's partially because of the energy of what's going on the Hob calendar, but 520, that's also 5 of Wands, which, if you know the tarot, that's too many cooks. It's a lot of overwhelming input on a bunch of things that, unless properly channeled, is just kind of haywire feeling. But there's a lot of confidence that comes from 5 days if you know how to use them, know how to lean into them. A lot of courage is kind of what amounts to these days. So you might wind up being in a situation that demands that. And you might wind up in a situation that demands you to be a bit more than open, more than receptive, to be willing to be both receptive and, I guess, active, demonstrative, to put your, I don't know how to say this analogy, because a candle's a really good analogy for this, where a candle is only it's only capable of passing itself along so far as someone has reached it as well. It's kind of like a conduit, but you might be called to present your true self, your truest self, to some degree in today, no matter where you're at or what type of activity you're getting into today or you have to get into. But it's one of those days where you don't have to do nothing. You're just going to learn a lot about yourself, and that's pretty fun. But today is also on the Hob calendar a 1316 day, which is that's the when I think of 1316, I see the honey badger, the radel. I love the name radel. The radel's such a cooler animal name. But if you can't tell, that kind of energy demands a lot of action to deal with anything. I endure in order to question, transcending fearlessness. That's the mantra of today. And 13 days, man, they're not unlucky. I won't say that. um, 13 days are very special and very powerful. I think a lot of people view them as unlucky. Mostly because I think a lot of people aren't in the position where they're thinking they're going to need to do something. 13 is all about endurance. All about endurance. It's about willing to go beyond what you thought you were capable of. And typically that involves whatever you want to call it. It typically involves reaching out beyond yourself to a higher, whatever you want to call it. And somehow succeeding, pulling yourself through, moving forward. The 13/16 is a day that usually involves a bit of a challenge, but it depends on who you are. I mean, to me, to endure is a challenge as much as it is a service, as much as it is a balancing effort, as much as it is you genuinely attuning to something. Like there's a lot of connections to the act of endurance. That's also why I like this mind system. It's more like psychology than metaphysics, but it's funny how that works. 13 is pink in the Mayan system, the lunar tones. I'll see it as white sometimes. In the Kabbalah, that's Metatron. That's white, I think, when you're dealing with that system, or clear, or I'm not sure which one exactly, but I'm pretty sure it's like a bright white light as well. But even in those systems, that's what that energy corresponds with. Accessing something that is beyond our accessibility traditionally, and moving forward. That energy of the Hob paired with the energy of today, do not be surprised if you encounter a situation that just demands I'm going to say your capacity to endure for the sake of not the reasons you typically would. So I think when a lot of us go into our mode we like to sink into to just, get shit done, we typically don't think about the progression of our lives alongside that same mentality you accessed. However, whatever time you accessed it to get into this mode. Because believe it or not, there are some times where using that same energy you had back in, I don't know, when you were 18 to accomplish a super difficult task isn't going to work when you're, not 18, like 27, 28, 25, 30. Like, don't be surprised if you're asked to endure in a way that brings you to some form of change that is both illuminating and I want to say just easily eye-opening. It's like a bottle cap you thought was a twist off and we're dead ass serious. You knew it was a twist off, and then someone comes along and tries to twist off. It's like, there's no fucking, it's a pop cap, dumbass. And after, it's like, oh, well, that's nice. you finally get your reward, you finally get your beverage, but it really just came at the cost of, you sitting down and paying attention to what you're looking at and going, oh, it's just this, it is that. And I'd like to say there's an easy way around that, but I think that's part of the energy today, is if you want to really get the best out of what the universe and God and etc. synonyms want you to get from the day, you're probably going to have to be willing to definitely be uncomfortable. Definitely explore the world in a way you wouldn't. Or in a way that you would, and you are typically very open to exploring the world, but in a way you wouldn't necessarily go about exploring it typically. That mentality you'd have. That's part of the 16, because with 16, fearlessness is also kind of a what if archetype. It's the archetype of, to me, it's like a sprouted seedling. It's a tree that's growing. That's 16. It's the question. It is a question. Just outright, what if? I believe the 16th rune in the Futhark is also tear. So if that's not any correlation, I don't know what the fuck is. There's a lot to do with discovery, but only if you're willing to ask the question. Because with the question comes an answer. And you're not worried about asking the question. Nobody fucking is. It's the answer you get. That's the thing you're worried about. But if you're here asking the question so many goddamn times in ways that don't get the right answer you're wanting, maybe you know the answer. Maybe you just need to hear it a different way. Or maybe you need to be able to hear the answer and look at it in a way that says, oh, that's actually correct and good. So that's where that 520 energy comes in. Again, I still am not entirely certain how these mesh or blend, because this is all timey-wimey bullshit. There's entire analogical, metaphysical systems based around our wonderful Pope Gregory's calendar that I'm not certain if he knew about or knows about or was aware of when they put that shit in and together. And it's not entirely just a Kabbalistic ideal. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this. But either way, there's a whole lot to do with just what timeline you want to be on or consider yourself on. Timeline. I feel like with the shoehorning of half-ass understood quantum physics into mass media, everyone just has all these catchword occultist phrases that nobody actually fucking grasps or takes fucking seriously when they start talking about, because you don't want to. Anyone who's wanting to just start changing their timelines really has not ever changed a fucking timeline before, or has ever conceived of what that also entails on every other status quo you have. And I don't know, this is why I think doing readings like this are more important than just doing a weird collective read. Or I don't want to call them weird, because I think they're actually super useful. To me, they're weird because they're just not the thing I want to do. That's the best way to say it. I like collective readings. I think that those are my jam. But I also feel like we're all in a collective, whether we like it or not. There is specified ideologues out there that tend to close themselves off. I feel like I myself am one of them completely. Maybe. I don't know. But I like to do things my way and stick to myself. But I think part of that ultimately is understanding that you, as an individual, are, an important fixture and node in the society you begrudgingly have to be a part of, whether you like it or not. Like, your actions genuinely affect the world around you 24/7, whether or not you think you're being your truest, most identical self or not. And I'm not saying like you're out there making butterfly effects happen that uh, result in a fucking baby stroller rolling in front of an alligator pit or something. Like, it's more along the lines of the things you do are important, no matter what they are, and they matter. I'm kind of forgetting where I'm going with this, but timelines. The things you do in your timelines are important, and following and understanding what you are in your timeline and how you are important as a fixture, as a node in society, in nature, really. Like, you are a part of nature, and there's a good quote. Damn it. There's such a good quote I had for that, but oh well. You're a part of nature, and no one can stop you from speaking or acting in harmony with it. Always. There we go. And nature is, I don't want to say nature is time, because that's not a good analog, but time is very natural, if you can't tell. Or at least seems like it to me. It's part of natural cyclical phenomena that we constantly are a part of. So the idea of just giving a reading for what the energy is energetically all around us, whether we like it or not on the planet, feels to me like a collective reading in itself. So I hope whoever's watching these likes these. I hope they're resonating. I hope this resonates with somebody. I hope everyone's having a good day today. Today feels like the day it feels like. So I think I'm gonna call it there. So yeah, much love, and later, Tater.